Good morning, everyone. I'm going to call the Assembly Committee on Judiciary to order. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Assemblywoman Bilbray Axelrod.
Here.
Assemblywoman Cohen. Here. Assemblywoman Gonzalez. Here. Assemblywoman Hanson. Here. Assemblywoman Hardy. Here. Assemblywoman Kasama. Here. Assemblywoman Krasner. Here. Assemblywoman Marzola. Here. Assemblyman Miller. Here. Assemblywoman Nguyen. Here. Assemblyman O'Neill. Here. Assemblyman Orntlicker. Assemblywoman Summers Armstrong. Assemblyman Wheeler. Here. Chairman Yeager.
Here. Please mark Assemblyman Orntlicker absent excused for the moment, and then please mark him absent or present when he arrives. He is in another committee this morning, but I believe he'll be joining us shortly. That means everyone else is here. We do have a quorum. Good morning to committee members. Good morning to those joining us here in the room in Carson City, to all of our guests on Zoom, and to those who might be watching on the internet. Welcome to day 101 of the 81st session of the Nevada Legislature. Before we get started on this morning's agenda, just a few quick housekeeping matters for those who are in the room with us and for those who are on the Zoom. Could you please silence your devices or mute yourself unless you're speaking? If you do speak today and respond to a question on the work session, if you could please remember to state your name before you speak, that would be really helpful. We do expect courtesy and respect in our interactions with one another. We don't always agree on policy. That's perfectly acceptable. We need to make sure we're being respectful of one another, of this legislative process, and most importantly, of our staff. And then finally, many members up here will be accessing this meeting using multiple devices, so please don't see it as a sign of disrespect or inattention if members appear to be looking away at times. So committee, members of the public, we just have a work session on today. And so the work session document has been uploaded to Nellis, so you will find it there as a complete document, and then each bill has its own exhibit as well. So we'll plan to just start from the top, and at this time I'll hand it over to Ms. Thornton to take us through Senate Bill 7.
Thank you, Chairman. Diane Thornton, Policy Analyst, Legislative Council Bureau. Our first bill on work session is Senate Bill 7. This bill was sponsored by the Senate Committee on Judiciary on behalf of the Nevada Supreme Court and heard on April 21st. This bill provides that the district court has exclusive jurisdiction over any action relating to the issuance or dissolution of an order for protection against domestic violence, workplace harassment, high-risk behavior, sexual assault or stalking, aggravated stalking or harassment that is sought against a child who is under 18 years of age. However, the juvenile court has exclusive jurisdiction over any action in which it is alleged that a child has committed a delinquent act by violating such an order. The bill also provides that the district court may appoint a master to hear these matters. There's one amendment proposed by Kendra Birchie, Deputy Public Defender, Washoe County Public Defender's Office. The amendment requires the appointment of counsel at all proceedings for a child who is the adverse party. It provides that the juvenile court must seal all records when the adverse party reaches the age of 18 or upon the expiration of the order, whichever occurs earliest. And lastly, it allows the adverse party to petition the court for an order declaring that the basis for the information transmitted to the central repository no longer exists. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Thornton. Are there any questions on Senate Bill 7 as detailed in the work session document? Okay, I don't see questions at this time. I'd be looking for a motion to amend and do pass.
I'd move to amend and do pass.
Have a motion to amend and do pass from Vice Chair Nguyen, a second from Assemblywoman Gonzalez. Any discussion on the motion? All right, I don't see discussion. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Right, motion carries. Everyone present voted in favor, and I will assign the floor statement to Vice Chair Nguyen. We'll move along next to Senate Bill 31. Ms. Thornton?
Senate Bill 31 was sponsored by the Senate Committee on Judiciary on behalf of the Records, Communications, and Compliance Division of the Department of Public Safety. It was heard on April 14th. This bill revises provisions relating to the Central Repository for Nevada Records of Criminal History. The bill expands the definition of record of criminal history to refer to any prosecuting attorney rather than only to a district attorney. The bill also eliminates the requirement for the Central Repository to prepare and post reports on its website, and instead must provide electronic access to this data on its website and include data on certain orders for protection and on crimes against older and or vulnerable persons. Lastly, the central repository is also required to provide to an entity authorized to review such records the criminal history of a person generally, rather than limiting the information provided to only convictions or to incidents for which the person is currently involved in the criminal justice system. There are 2 amendments to this measure. The first is proposed by the Department of Public Safety, and it retains the language in Section 3, subsection 5A of the bill that requires the central repository to disseminate records of criminal history to an authorized participant that reflects convictions only. The second amendment is proposed by Senator Heidi Severs-Gansert. This amendment authorizes the central repository to monitor the agency of criminal justice in this state for compliance with the statutory requirements relating to the submission or transmission of certain information relating to mental health records and other records, reports, compilations, and information. It requires the central repository to prepare an annual report regarding such compliance and to post the report on its internet website if the central repository chooses to perform such monitoring. It authorizes the central repository to contact the agency of criminal justice in this state to coordinate efforts to ensure the timely transmission or transmission of such information and records, and revises the effective date of the bill. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Thornton. And before I take questions, I'll just remind committee members there was some discussion on the bill and some concern expressed about what information would be turned over if the bill were to be passed. And Department of Public Safety Records Division did reach out and worked on that first amendment, which you'll see, which was to restore the existing language that is convictions only that will be disclosed. And then, as was mentioned, there's a second amendment from Senator Severs-Gansert, who is here in the room with us as well, that simply allows the central repository to do some follow-up when they are not getting the records they should be getting from courts, and then to provide that information to the public. So hopefully the compliance rate will be greater in terms of courts timely giving records of convictions to the central repository. But with those explanations, I would be happy to take any questions, if there are any, on Senate Bill 31 as detailed in the work session document. Assemblyman O'Neill.
Thank you, Chair. With your explanation, it reduces my question. But the one question I have, and I'd like to hear, is with these changes, this amendment being proposed, will it require any additional programming and/or a physical note from DPS records?
Thank you, Assemblyman O'Neill. And I think we have Ms. McKay on the Zoom with us, and she's probably the most appropriate person to answer that. So please go ahead, Ms. McKay.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much. Mindy McKay, Division Administrator, Public Safety Records, Communications and Compliance Division. Thank you for your question, Assemblyman. The portion of the bill that is being amended to retain the language in Section 3, subsection 5A, to only produce records of conviction only for civil name check, that will require system programming. However, we will be doing that during our CJIS modernization effort. And so that's already being funded, hopefully, through this session and the next biennium as well. And so it's just a matter of time of when we're going to be able to modify our systems to produce records of conviction only. All the other sections of the bill were already pretty much handling that with existing resources. So there will not be a fiscal note regarding any other sections of the bill. And there will not be a fiscal note on Section 3, subsection 5A, because it's part of NCGIS mod.
Very good. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Major McKay.
Thank you. Any additional questions from committee members? Don't see questions. Take a motion to amend and do pass. Have a motion from Assemblywoman Kasama. I saw a second from Assemblyman O'Neill. Again, the motion is to amend and do pass with both amendments as listed in the work session document. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Right, motion carries. Everybody present voted in favor of the bill, and I will assign the floor statement on that one to Assemblywoman Kasama. So congratulations for making the motion, and thank you for being here, Senator. Appreciate it. Okay, so moving right along, we will next go to Senate Bill 41. Ms. Thornton?
Thank you, Chair. Senate Bill 41 was sponsored by the Senate Committee on Judiciary on behalf of the Attorney General and heard in committee on April 22nd. This bill prohibits a person from installing or using a pen, register, or trap and trace device without first obtaining an order from a district court and provides that a peace officer may apply to a district court for such an order. The bill also includes certain federal officers in the definition of peace officer when they are acting as members of a task force comprised of federal and state or local enforcement agencies. It authorizes a court to accept a facsimile or electronic copy of a signature on an application for such an order and authorizes the use of a secure electronic transmission for the application and issuance of such an order. And there are no amendments.
Thank you, Ms. Thornton. Any questions on Senate Bill 41 as detailed in the work session document? I don't see questions. I'll be looking for a motion to do pass Senate Bill 41. Oh, there's so many there. That was a close one. I think we'll give the motion to Assemblywoman Gonzalez, and I think I heard Vice Chair Wynn to my right, so that will be the first. That will be the motion. Any discussion on the motion? Assemblyman Wheeler?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't know if you know it or not, but on our side, we have our own program here where we record votes and stuff, and since the Assemblywoman already said this was going to be a unanimous vote, I'm just going to vote no to mess her up. Thanks.
Any further discussion on the motion? Okay, don't see further discussion. Again, it's a motion to do pass. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? I didn't hear any nays, so it looks like it was a...
Messed her up twice.
The motion does carry. Everyone here voted in favor, and I'm going to assign the floor statement on that one to Assemblyman O'Neill, if you don't mind. You really don't have a choice. Thank you. Thank you, Assemblyman. We'll go next to Senate Bill 49. Ms. Thornton.
Thank you, Chair. Senate Bill 49 is sponsored by the Senate Committee on Health and Human Services on behalf of the Cannabis Compliance Board and heard in committee on May 5th. This bill makes various changes related to cannabis, including authorizing the Cannabis Compliance Board to employ the services of people it considers necessary for the purposes of hearing disciplinary proceedings, authorizing the executive director of a board to serve a complaint upon a respondent who is subject to a disciplinary proceeding, removing authorization for the board to take testimony of a witness by deposition in hearings before the board, authorizing the board to adopt certain policies and procedures to waive registration requirements, and revises various labeling requirements. There is an amendment proposed by Mr. Klimas from the Executive Director of the Cannabis Compliance Board. This amendment revises the definition of marijuana to include certain commodities or products made using hemp, revises the definition of THC to include other structural or optical or geometric isomers of tetrahydrocannabinol, revises the definition of hemp to provide that the THC concentration in hemp must not exceed the acceptable hemp THC level as defined by the State Department of Agriculture, and lastly, it adds a new definition of synthetic cannabinoid to statute. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thornton. Do we have any questions on Senate Bill 49 as detailed in the work session document? I don't see questions. At this time, I'll take a motion to amend and do pass. Have a motion from Assemblywoman Bilbray Axelrod. Do I have a second? Another close one over here to my right. I'm going to give the second to Assemblyman O'Neill on that one. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor of the motion to amend and do pass, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? All right, motion carries. Everyone present voted in favor. And I'll go ahead and take the floor statement on Senate Bill 49. Thank you, members of the CCB who are here with us on the Zoom. We appreciate it. We'll go next to Senate Bill 50. Ms. Thornton.
Senate Bill 50 was sponsored by the Senate Committee on Judiciary on behalf of the Attorney General and heard in committee on May 6th. This bill prohibits the issuance of a no-knock arrest warrant or a no-knock search warrant unless it is demonstrated via sworn affidavit that the underlying crime involves a significant and imminent threat to public safety and that giving notice in serving a warrant is likely to create an imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury to the officers executing the warrant or to another person. The bill also sets forth criteria that an application for a no-knock warrant must meet and sets forth the manner in which a no-knock warrant must be executed. There is one amendment to this bill sponsored by Attorney General Ford. He proposed revising Section 1.1 to provide the circumstances when a no-knock warrant issue is void.
Thank you, Ms. Thornton. Any questions on Senate Bill 50 as detailed in the work session document? Okay, I don't see questions. At this time, I'll take a motion to amend and do pass.
So moved.
Have a motion from Assemblyman Miller, I believe it was, and we'll give the second to Assemblywoman Summers Armstrong. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, go ahead, Assemblyman O'Neill.
I'm sorry, Chair, for my delayed response. I just want to, I'll be a yes on this. I appreciate talking with the Attorney General after the committee, and we discussed some of the facts of it and clarified a few things, and also with law enforcement on their position with it. So I will be a yes, but I would like to reserve. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Assemblyman O'Neill. Further discussion on the motion? Okay, now seeing no further discussion, again, the motion is to amend and do pass. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Okay, motion carries. Everyone present voted in favor. I'll assign the floor statement on Senate Bill 50 to Assemblywoman Summers Armstrong. Moving right along, let's go next to Senate Bill 62. Ms. Thornton.
Senate Bill 62 is sponsored by the Senate Committee on Judiciary on behalf of the Attorney General. This bill expands the types of organization that must register with the Secretary of State as charitable organizations to include entities that solicit donations but are not exempt from federal income taxes. The bill also makes several technical changes to reflect that these entities may not be required to register as tax-exempt organizations with the IRS or be organized as entities that file with the Secretary of State. Similarly, the bill revises information required to be disclosed in solicitations made by these organizations and makes them subject to laws governing deceptive trade practices, and there are no amendments.
Thank you, Ms. Thornton. Any questions on Senate Bill 62 as detailed in the work session document? I don't see questions. At this time, I'll take a motion to do pass.
I move to do pass.
Do I have a second? So I have a motion from Vice Chair Wynn, a second from Assemblyman Miller. Any discussion on the motion? Assemblywoman Hanson?
Thank you, Chair. And I'm going to be yes in committee and reserve my right. I want to thank Ms. Adair, who I see is here in the room, and appreciate that she took the time to meet with me and some representatives from some groups that had some concerns about how this bill might apply to them and their activities. And I'm glad to say that she was able to put to rest many of our concerns, and the groups that met with are okay now with the bill. So I appreciate that. Will be yes and reserve my right. Just there might be a few things out there I still need to address, but appreciate the efforts of the Attorney General's office and Ms. Adair.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Hanson. Assemblyman Wheeler?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to let you know I don't see a lot of problems with this bill, but I do see future problems that can be built upon this bill. So for that reason, I'm going to have to go no on it.
Thank you, Assemblyman. Further discussion? Assemblywoman Krasner?
Thank you, Chair. I'll be voting yes to get it out of committee, but I'm going to reserve my right to change. Thank you.
Thank you. Assemblywoman Hardy?
Same for me. I'll be a yes out of committee.
Thank you. Assemblyman O'Neill, did you want to make a statement as well, or no?
I'm just going to be a no.
All right.
You have the right to change.
Fantastic. And again, I will remind members, you always do have the right to change. If you could just let me know if you're going to do that. It's always helpful. Try to avoid surprises on the assembly floor. So I think now is probably the appropriate time for the vote. Again, the motion was to do pass Senate Bill 62. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Could I just have a show of hands for the nays, please? So we have nays from Assemblyman Wheeler, Assemblywoman Kasama, and Assemblyman O'Neill. Motion does carry, And I'm going to assign the floor statement on that one to Assemblywoman Marzola. Just a few more to go. We'll go next to Senate Bill 95. Ms. Thornton?
Thank you, Chair. Senate Bill 95 was sponsored by Senator Orenshaw and heard in committee on April 22nd. This bill is an omnibus measure that revises various provisions governing Nevada's business entities. Senator Orenshaw proposed 2 amendments to this bill. The first amendment, as presented in the mock-up, revises the language in Section 22.5 to clarify what a contribution may consist of to the capital of a member to a limited liability company or series. Secondly, the Second Amendment provides that the definition of market value remains in NRS 78.424, provides that the definition of resident domestic corporation remains in 78.427, moves the definition of voting shares to NRS 78.010, deletes the new subsection 3 of NRS 78.010, provides that NRS 78.424 is not repealed, repeals NRS 78.432, and lastly adds Assemblyman Ornlicker as a primary sponsor to the bill.
Thank you, Ms. Thornton, and welcome, Senator Orenshaw. Thank you for being here. Are you here just to answer questions, or did you have anything you needed to say before we took a motion?
Good morning, Chair, members of the Assembly Judiciary Committee. James Orenshaw, State Senate District 21. You notice how brave I am on a business law bill when I've got Mackenzie Warren, Robert Kim, and Albert Kovacs here to back me up. But I'm here to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you all for being here. Committee, any questions on Senate Bill 95 as enumerated in the work session document? Assemblywoman Bilbray Axelrod.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I unfortunately wasn't here for this presentation because I was in my 2.5-hour epic veterinary bill. So I'm sure I'll probably be fine with it, but I gotta take a look at this so we can, but I just wanted to let you know, I hate ever voting or even talking about voting against Senator Orenshaw because he's the nicest person in this building. But I do want to just digest a little bit so we can circle back.
Mr. Chair, I may not be that so nice if you vote against my bill. James Orenshaw, Senate 21, but thank you.
We're not going to do any fact-checking today on whether, in fact, Senator Orenshaw is the nicest person in the building. I think he's the nicest person in the room. I certainly could say that. So. In the world, perhaps. Before we move on to additional comments, let me just ask, are there any additional questions on Senate Bill 95 as detailed in the work session document? Okay, I don't see questions, so again, we'll have a time for comments, but at this time, I'll take a motion to amend and do pass Senate Bill 95. Assemblyman Wheeler, was that a motion? Okay, so Assemblyman Wheeler made the motion, and I think I heard Vice Chair Wynn over here make the second, although there were others as well. So
I thought I'd move up on the nice guy list.
Fantastic. So we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion beyond what we've already heard that Senator Orenshaw is the nicest person in the world? You should put that on your next legislative profile, by the way. So. Okay, I don't see further discussion. So again, the motion is to amend and do pass. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? All right, motion carries, and it was unanimous as Assemblyman Orentlicker has joined us. And because Assemblyman Orentlicker is a sponsor of the bill, now I'm going to assign the floor statement to him on Senate Bill 95.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. Appreciate it.
Thank you for being here, Senator. Appreciate it. And thank you for being here, Mr. Kim, and Ms. Warren as well. Have a good rest of the day. Okay, committee, 2 more to go. We'll go next to Senate Bill 168. Ms. Thornton?
Thank you, Chair. Senate Bill 168 was sponsored by Senators Lang and Brooks and heard in committee on May 6th. This bill makes various changes related to cannabis. Specifically, it requires the Cannabis Compliance Board to adopt regulations governing curbside pickup and allowing certain records to be created and maintained electronically. The bill also authorizes the board to adopt regulations imposing packaging and labeling requirements for cannabis products. In addition, cannabis sales facilities are authorized to engage in curbside pickup in accordance with the board regulations. The bill revises labeling requirements to require cannabis establishments to ensure that all cannabis products are labeled with certain information and requires cannabis sales facilities to convey certain information rather than providing written notification. And there are no amendments to the measure.
Thank you, Ms. Thornton. Any questions on Senate Bill 168 as detailed in the work session document? I don't see questions. At this time, I'll take a motion to do pass. Oh, this is going to be a long week. Friday is going to be fun. I think I had a motion from Assemblywoman, I'll give it to Bilbray Axelrod, and then Vice Chair Wynn with the second. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, I don't see discussion. Again, the motion is to do pass. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Okay, could I have a show of hands on the nays? We have nays from Assemblywoman Krasner, Assemblyman O'Neill, Assemblywoman Hanson, Assemblyman Wheeler. So I think that's 4 nays. That means the motion does carry, and I'll assign the floor statement on that one to Assemblyman Miller. Last one for today, Committee, Senate Bill 357. Ms. Thornton?
Thank you, Chairman. Senate Bill 357 was sponsored by the Senate Committee on Judiciary on behalf of the Legislative Committee on Child Welfare and Juvenile Justice and heard in committee on April 15th. This bill requires the Director of the Department of Corrections to establish a system to track expenses directly related to housing youthful offenders who are under 18 years of age. Expenses to be tracked include education, communication, and interaction with family members and others, healthcare, mental health, recreational programming, and other costs the Director determines to be appropriate. The Director is required to report the expenses tracked by the system to the Legislative Committee on Child Welfare and Juvenile Justice by July 30th of each year, and there are no amendments.
Thank you, Ms. Thornton. I do see we have Ms. Wellborn and Mr. Wickham on the Zoom with us. Committee, any questions on Senate Bill 357 as detailed in the work session document? Okay, I don't see any questions. I'll take a motion to do pass.
I'll make a motion.
Have a motion from Assemblywoman Krasner, a second from Assemblywoman Bilbray Axelrod. Any discussion on the motion? I don't see any discussion. All those in favor of the motion to do pass Senate Bill 357, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Okay, motion carries unanimously, and I'm going to assign the floor statement to Assemblywoman Krasner. And thank you for being here, Ms. Wellborn and Mr. Wickham. Okay, committee, that takes us through our work session document. That takes us to the last item on our agenda this morning, which is public comment. Just by way of a reminder, we reserve up to 30 minutes for public comment at the end of each meeting. Public commenters will have 2 minutes to provide public comment. Public comment is a time to raise matters of a general nature within the jurisdiction of the Assembly Judiciary Committee. It looks like we've outlasted the entire audience here in the room in Carson City, so there's no public comment here. BPS, could we go to the phone line to see if there's anyone for public comment, please?
Good morning. Thank you, Chair. For callers wishing to provide public comment, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. We will take caller with the last 3 digits of 556. Caller, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You have 2 minutes and may begin.
Anne Marie Grant, ANNEMARIE sister of Thomas Purdy, who was murdered by Reno Police and Washoe County Sheriff's Office. I am going to build a couple AR pistols just for BLM, Antifa, or active shooters who cross my path and can't maintain social distancing. I would be a good helper and throw a lot of gasoline in their direction as they held their lighters and say, oops, as I walked away. That was just 2 of the vile, disgusting, disturbing, and fear-generating tweets sent out by Sparks police officer George Forbush. Forbush alleges he was unjustly disciplined for misconduct after he posted on a personal social media account about matters of public concern. He was suspended for 4 days without pay. Forbush is seeking $1 million in damages because the suit said the disciplinary action caused him psychological, emotional, and reputational harm and will hurt his post-retirement employment prospects. Another bad cop costing the taxpayers money. The Sparks City Council at their May 10, 21 meeting approved retaining Holland and Hart as special counsel to the city in the Forbush lawsuit. These fees are billed by the hour, and the hourly rate varies based on the person performing the work. The total financial impact will depend on how the case progresses. That's the total financial impact to the taxpayers. What's most troubling is Bush sees nothing wrong with his statements as someone who has the ability to kill without consequence. His attorneys want to pretend that the community does not have a legitimate fear based on his statements. He is a member of the SWAT team who are typically sent to proclaimed by police volatile situations. I know many don't want him showing up for their call. You may or may not recall I spoke to this committee on February 23rd about 30-year-old Christopher Talancon, who was asphyxiated by Sparks Police on 10/15/2016. Officer George Bush was one of those officers. Please support bills that promote transparency and accountability from law enforcement. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment, Ms. Grant. BPS, is there anybody else on the line for public comment?
Chair, the public line is open and working. However, there are no other callers on the line at this time.
Thank you, BPS. I will now close public comment. Anything else from committee members this morning before we talk about the rest of this week? Okay, I don't see anything. So just a couple of announcements. Number one, we don't have a Judiciary Committee meeting tomorrow. As you all know, we don't have any bills in the committee right now, so we don't have anything to hear. We're going to get more bills. I just don't know when, but it's not going to be this week. And that leaves us with Friday. We will be having a meeting on Friday. We are planning for a 9 o'clock start. We will only have a work session. By my calculations, we have up to 12 additional bills that we might work session on Friday. For those of you who have been in the building before, you know that this deadline is always a unique one where we typically will take some bills and then recess and then come back together and vote on some more bills, and that'll happen not just in this committee but probably in all your other committees as well. So I'll just ask you all on Friday, I'm sure we'll recess to the call of the chair at some point, if you could just make sure to keep your phone close by or have your attaché reach out, because we may try to get together quickly when we have an opportunity, but obviously every other committee in the building is trying to do the same thing, so logistically it's a bit challenging, but I'll continue to work on getting the work session document together. I'm still waiting on some amendments to get finalized. Once I have those, I will try to get those out to all of you in a timely manner, so you can let me know whether those amendments are going to satisfy any concerns that were expressed on the bill. So that's what we have for the moment. I don't know what next week is going to look like. It just depends if we get any bills on the floor this week or not. So I think that's everything. The only one additional thing I'll say for Friday is we will have donuts available around 8 o'clock. So if you're here in the building early, feel free to stop by. And so committee, thank you all for your hard work, and we'll see you back here in this committee room at 9 o'clock on Friday. This meeting is adjourned.